Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to one and all. I, Sonali Saraf, YFLO Secretary, Apurva Pokarna, YFLO Chairperson, and our YFLO Committee welcome our speaker, Mrs. Shabana Azmi ji, our guest of honor, National President, YFLO, Mrs. Jahnabi ji, our moderator for today, Mrs. Ratna Rao ji, YFLO past chairs, FLO Committee, chapter chairs, and members to our YFLO program, Alfaaz with Azmi. A piece of information I would like to share with all of you. We will turn off the videos for the moderated session for better clarity. Kindly cooperate. If anyone has any questions, please put them with your name in the chat box and Ratnaji will take it in the end of the session. I now invite Aarti Shah, YFLO Treasurer, to start our afternoon on an auspicious note with Ganesh Vandana.
वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा.
Thank you, Aarti. They say hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness. On that note, can we now have the lighting of the lamp, please? I now invite Apurva, our YFLO chairperson, to address the meeting and introduce our guest.
Namaste. Good evening and a warm welcome to National President, GB members, FLO and YFLO members across India. Wishing you all a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. As a child, I heard these lines which left a deep impact on me regarding the role of women in our community. Aanchal mein hai doodh, aankhon mein pani. Aanchal mein hai doodh, aankhon mein pani. Hai abla jeevan, teri yahi kahani. This was a very famous poem, but the helpless portrayal of the strongest people I knew left me wondering. And today, the thought brings me here as the chairperson of YFLO Hyderabad. I salute the women here today who have redefined these lines for me, who have and continue to inspire me, who made this event possible, and the ones who are yet to create history. Among the stars we are dazzled by, in the sky or on screen, the name Azmi has been synonymous with immense honor, great talent, awards, and lifetime achievements. Words fall short when I try and summarize the lady that comes from the house of poets and writes a celebrity that has conquered India's biggest powerhouses with pure skill and dedication. An actress, a politician, a social activist, Padma Bhushan recipient, a true legend. I welcome the esteemed Mrs. Shabana Azmi to our national event for the year 2020. I also extend my gratitude and appreciation to our guest of honor, FLO National President, Ms. Jahnabi Phookan. She is the director of JTI Group. Jahnabi is the 37th National President of FLO, the women wing of FICCI. As a president of FLO, Jahnabi's focus is on sustainable livelihood for women, economic empowerment. Jahnabi is an entrepreneur, a co-founder of 2 National Tourism Award-winning companies, Jungle Travels India and Assam Bengal Navigation Company under JTI Group. Her companies are encompassed in travel and hospitality, boutique river cruising, small group specialized stores, tea and textile, all of which empower young people's livelihoods, especially women and their communities. We're pleased to have you here with us.
Shubha Sayantram. Good evening, YFLO Hyderabad. I'm delighted to be here today with YFLO Hyderabad on the auspicious day of Ganesh Chaturthi. May the Vignaharta always be with you. It is my pleasure to address this webinar. As the 37th National President of FLO, the women's wing of FICCI, on behalf of FLO and the 17th chapter that I represent, I'm delighted to welcome the powerhouse of talent, Shabana Azmi. Straddling theatre and films with finesse and ease. Shabana Azmi, you are one of the most versatile actresses India has ever seen. You are the only actor to win the National Award for Best Actor 5 times. Starting with your first film, Ankur, in 1974, you went on to win the National Award for 3 consecutive years, from 1983 to 1985, for your performance in Earth, Kandhar, and Par. Your role in the 1996 film, Fire, won you the Silver Hugo Award for Best Actress at the 32nd Chicago Film Festival and the Jury Award for the Best Actress at Outfest, Los Angeles. You have also appeared in a number of foreign films, including John Schlesinger's Madame Susutska, Nicholas Klotz's The Bengali Night, in which you co-starred with Hugh Grant, Ronald Joff's City of Joy, Shannon Ford's Immaculate Conception, Blake Edwards, son of the Pink Panther, and Ismail Merchant in Custody. You are also a crusader for women's rights. Your father founded the Mijwan Welfare Society, which is involved in girls' education and girls' vocational training. In your father's words, and I quote, the legendary Kaifi Azmi, "Koi to sood chukaye, koi to zimma le, yeh inkilab ka jo aaj tak udhar sa hai." Shabana ji, his words resonate with our mission. We at YFLO have been working relentlessly for the past 36 years towards the empowerment of women and girls at every level, in every strata. I must congratulate YFLO Hyderabad Chairperson Apurva Jain and her team for giving us the opportunity for all of us today at YFLO to come together and listen to you today. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Jahnabi ji. I would like to now introduce our moderator for the session. Ratna Rao Shekar has been a journalist for almost 30 years, and in her long career, she has met and interviewed many icons such as Mother Teresa, the Nobel Prize Chairman, yoga gurus, among others. Ratna is the founder editor of the popular city magazine, YFLO Hyderabad. She is the author of several books, which include a coffee table book called The Journey with a Map. She also has a book of short stories, The Purple Lotus, and other stories published in 2012. Mrs. Shekar is also on the verge of publishing a novel based on the city we all love, Hyderabad. Apart from this, she is involved with the cultural and art scenes in Hyderabad. I now hand over the screen to Mrs. Shekar to weave her magic like always.
Thank you, Apurva. Thank you for getting me on this. I request Jahnabi ji to shoot the first question.
Thank you.
And we can't see Shabana. Where is she?
Last week, you shared a very poignant post on your Instagram handle with your father, late Sri Kaifi Azmi ji, and you mentioned that he had always stood by you and that he had said, "I will support you in whatever you do. If you want to become a shoemaker, a mochi, I will support you, provided you tell me yourself that you want to try to become the best mochi in the business." We would love to hear from you about your beautiful bond with your late father and how he inspired you to become what you are today.
Well, thank you very much for that question. I had a very special relationship with my father, Kaifi Azmi. Actually, both my brother and I. And he was always different. I remember when I was 7 years old, I think, I was going to a convent school, and like all the girls in my class, I wanted to have a blonde doll with blue eyes. My father got me a black doll instead and told me black is beautiful too. Now, at that time, I thought he was some kind of gone case. But can you imagine how gently he was pushing in ideas of inclusivity in a 7-year-old child? My father, 70 years ago, wrote a poem called Aurat at a time when it was believed that women's business was just to stay at home and look after the kitchen fires and the children while the man goes out in struggle, he said, "Uth meri jaan, mere saath hi chalna hai tujhe." And he was a poet who practiced what he preached, whether it was in his relationship with my mother, Shokar, or me, or his daughter-in-law, Tanvi. He has really practiced what he preached. And I remember many instances when his total support of what I did gave me great strength and gave me great courage. I'll tell you about a very interesting incident. I think this was in early 90, it was in 89 or 86. It was in May 86 that I had gone on a hunger strike along with 4 slum dwellers and the director Anand Patwardhan, because a slum had been demolished in Mumbai and the government was refusing to give them alternate land, which was the mandate by the government. And so we went on a hunger strike, and I just parked myself in the middle of the street in South Bombay at that time. And the government started negotiating with my mother and saying that we have a lot of respect for her as an actor, but she's being manipulated by these people and there is no land. And so we will not be able to give in to their demands. My mother called up my father, who was in Patna in that at those times in a conference, and he said, and she said, you know, her health is failing, her blood pressure is dropping, she's been on a hunger strike for 5 days, you better come back. Next day I received a telegram from my father in which he said, "Best of luck, comrade." So that was the kind of parent he was.
Hi, Shabana. Can I ask you the next question? The next question is the relationship with your mother. I know she stayed with you after your father passed away. He was quite a rebel, right? I mean, I remember this book. I love this book, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there is quite a bit about how she ran away to be with your dad. So were you also rebellious like her, or you feel you're no match to what she was in her time?
I think she really had to rebel a lot more than I did, because I had extremely liberal parents. I grew up in a commune. Till the age of 9, we lived in a commune which was basically 180 square foot to 250 square feet rooms that 8 families shared a common toilet and a common bathroom. So that was the kind of atmosphere I grew in. So they were very liberal people. But for my mother to say at that time that I will only marry Kefi and nobody else was a really courageous thing to do, particularly because she came from a well-to-do house and he was a communist and they were earning only 40 rupees a month, etc. But it is also to the credit of my grandfather, Yahya Khan, who was a 5 times praying, devoted Muslim, who, when he realized that his daughter Shaukat was completely steadfast that she would only marry Kefi, she broke up her engagement at that time, and he brought her to Bombay, made her see how Kefi was living in the commune, and then said, "If you think that you can manage this, I will get you married right here without telling the rest of the family." And consequently, he did that. Now, that I think is pretty extraordinary, also, isn't it?
So what was your relationship with her as you got older and as she got older?
You know, I think that although my relationship with my father is most celebrated, I was equally close to my mother, and she has taught me extraordinary lessons in life. She embodied India's composite culture. She used to travel a lot with the Prithvi Theatre, and so she used to go into different cities and little towns, and she would collect all these knickknacks. And so my house was always a house that had very beautiful trinkets. She was into handicrafts, she was into handloom. So I think her aesthetics I developed. But also her love for acting. She was a very, very sincere actress. I remember there was a time when she was given only 10 days to uh, to get ready for a Maharashtra state competition with a play called Pagli. So she would start rehearsing her lines just about anywhere. You know, "Utho gire wo bam ke gole." She would just say it because she was very given to learning her lines. So one day she was in the kitchen and cooking something, and she said, "Utho gire wo bam ke gole." The cook ran out of the kitchen and he said, "Mem sab bilkul pagal ho gayi hai," and he ran away from there. So I remember I went crying to my father, and I said, "Mummy has become mad." So imagine, I was just a 9-year-old. He was doing something and he said, "I'll take you. Let's go for a walk on the beach." And he told me, "Bete, your mother has not become mad. She is very sincere. She's doing, we've broken that track person." And she was very good with combinations. So I asked her, I said, "Mom, how do you decide which colors go with what?" And she said, "Bete, look at nature. If that combination exists in nature, you will never go wrong." And that has been my life's lesson, and I still continue to look for that. And I'm very, very happy to have inherited her love for acting and also her love for Mumbai's, for India's composite culture. But you know, she always believed as a theatre actor. What happened is just before a show of a play that I used to do, a very popular play, NCPA. So please just leave her for 2 hours, because for us the show must go on. So I will take her, get her to do her performance, and then after that I stand guarantee that I will come back and put her in the police station, and then you can keep her. She went up on the stage then at the NCPA, and you said that Shabana is an actor, but she's also an activist, and she's been arrested. So it's going to take some time for it. So please, anybody who is wanting to get reimbursed, they're most welcome to do so. Not one person left the theater, not one person. And 2 hours later, it was a 6 o'clock show. I reached there at 8 o'clock. I was on stage at 7 minutes after 8, and we got a standing ovation. And then my mother hugged me at the end of it and said, "Bete, for us, the show must go on, is the dictum by which we must live."
Adana, when you were growing up, what was expected of you? What did you want to become? Was acting the natural choice? Theater?
No, you know, amazingly, because in school they used to say that she'll become an actress, because I was always acting since I was 3. But I used to think that my friends say that I'll become an actress because they used to think that I'm not good at anything else. So I used to say, "Not at all, aisa kuch bhi nahi hai," and then make up all kinds of stories. But I was also very interested in literature.
Good.
I remember asking my dad when I was in college, and I said, "You know, I don't know whether I should do psychology or I should do literature." And my father said, "But you're interested in acting, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Don't you think if you do psychology, it will help you in developing your characters? Because literature is something you can do on your own, because you're fond of reading and you can keep on reading." So, you know, these were the little things that we were invested in and enriched by.
You come from a family of some of the greatest writers. Are you also a writer? I mean, are you writing something right now? Are you a closet?
I'm always asked that question, that your father was a poet, your husband is a poet, your father-in-law was a poet. Do you write poetry? And my stock answer is, no, I provide the inspiration.
Oh, wow.
Better to do.
Yeah. So coming back to your mother, was she a I mean, I'm sure she was a hardcore feminist. Is that where you get your...
From my father and my mother, they lived the life they believed in. Equality was a given. It was an absolute given. So, as a child, when she had to go off on her tours, it was my father who used to. There was no role playing. This the father does and this the mother does. There was none of that, and there was no difference in the way that I was raised or my brother was raised. It was a given. It wasn't even mentioned. It was something that I took completely for granted. It was really much later that I realized that what I take for granted as a given is the exception rather than the rule. And I must say it was as late as the early 80s when I worked in a film called Art by Mahesh Bhatt. I don't know whether you'll have seen that film. So it was a film about a wife whose husband deserts her, and with great difficulty she pulled herself together. And meanwhile, her husband, who has been rejected by his girlfriend, comes back and says, "Please forgive me. Will you take me back?" And I say very simply that if I had made the same mistake, would you have taken me back? And he's honest enough to say no, and so I walk out on that. Now, when distributors saw the film, they said, "Oh my God, it's a very powerful film, but you have to change the end. It's unacceptable that a Hindi film heroine will say no to a husband. The film won't see the light of day." And both Mahesh Bhatt and I said, "No, this is the reason we are doing the film." And mercifully, the film became a very big success. Now, what happened is a whole host of women started visiting me after that film was released. Not as fans to star, but in sisterhood, expecting me to resolve all their marital problems. Now, I was very frightened because I was just a young girl who'd done a part. But then it made me aware that there is a responsibility that the actor has, because oftentimes the audience confuses the actor with the character, and that you have this sphere of influence. And that's how my work with women actually started. The trigger point was Mahesh Bhatt's Art.
But was there often a conflict in the roles you were choosing and what you believed in? Because given what Hindi film is, they propagate these stereotypes of women being the docile.
Yeah, but remember, I'm a trained actor. I'm a trained actor. I was a gold medalist at the Film Institute. I was exposed to a lot of international cinema. I'd seen Japanese cinema, Swedish cinema, French cinema, which normally at that time wasn't able to do. So my aesthetics were also shaped by that. And there were many films in the beginning that I refused. I remember there was a film where there was a scene when I was picking up my husband's shoes and making him wear it. So I said, okay, but is there any other scene where I am doing something in which my husband helps me? And they said that there's no need for it. I said, there is need for it. Because if you expect me to make it seem kosher completely that I am making my husband wear his shoes, then I would like him to be pressing my feet at some juncture. So there were many, many films like that I refused or I got changed because of my own value system.
So women in your position, it's easier for you to speak up and protest these things. But generally, do you think it's very difficult for the Indian women to speak up about her rights? Or is there like a change? I think there is a change right now. But what do you feel?
See, I think there has been a great change in society now. An empowerment of the woman is no longer a buzzword, but it is really being accepted because the women's movement has done so much for this concept. And what women all over the world are saying is that we constitute 50% of the world, and we want to be included in the global dialogue that is taking place, whether it's in the arts or politics or economics or environment or what have you. Women are saying we are different, not better, not worse, but different. And this difference needs to be included in the global dialogue that is taking place. So it's not about a woman becoming like a man. Because if a woman becomes like a man, then society is not going to be changed if she's going to start behaving like the man. So I believe that when women are empowered, they transform the very notion of power itself, so that it can become about sharing of power rather than the powerful wielding power over the weak.
You were in the video you sent, Flo, you said there's a women's point of view and there's a man's point of view. And strangely, during the pandemic, it was the women leaders who handled the crisis better than so-called democratic politicians.
Yes, absolutely. And so the world now is accepting that. But listen, it's been very difficult for women, because I've been to so many conferences where I was also taught, the fact that a woman is a mother, and that's why certain, not concessions, but certain facilities have to be given to her is only a very recent phenomena, because otherwise women are expected to completely give up any ambition that they have to work the minute she has a child. I remember in an extremely well-known American organization, this lady was telling me that only 10 years ago, I'll refrain from taking the name of the organization, but it was unthinkable that a woman would be able to leave her office at 3 o'clock to take her son to the dentist. She was not allowed that, and because women had to prove to be twice as good as men to get half the salary. So she said she used to carry an extra handbag and she used to carry an extra jacket. She would put that jacket on her chair. She would leave her handbag there, slip away, take her son to the dentist, and then come back, and people would think that she's somewhere in the building. It is now finally women are saying, why? Because we are also mothers and there are duties. So why can't we get flexible time? But even when that is happening, I think what we really, really need to define is the equation between husband and wife. Why is it that housework, looking after children, everything is automatically just the domain of the mother? Why is it that if my child has, let's say, 102 temperature, it is taken for granted that the mother will stay at home, not the father? Why? She is also doing work, which is equally. So why can't it be once you stay, once I stay? We have to renegotiate that balance. Sometimes you have to do it with cleverness. Sometimes you have to do it as a demand. Sometimes you have to fight for it. But I also think that, there's a lot of confusion in what this new woman is becoming. Because equality that she is demanding is almost by legislation, which is ridiculous. Because it's a textbook notion of equality. And so what is happening is complete intolerance and an ability to adjust is getting into the minds of young girls in marriages where they feel compromise is a bad word. But how can compromise, if you look at the flip side of compromise, it is adjustment. You adjust, don't you, with your friends? You adjust with your parents. You adjust with your peers. So what is wrong in adjusting with your spouse if it lubricates life and makes it easier? Except that there are certain principles on which, so you have to choose your battles.
Yeah. So also, it's much easier for us with economic independence to speak up and stand up for our rights. But what about the really poor people who, I know lots of people just get beaten by their husbands and spouses and get drunk, kids. So it is actually supposed to earn money plus take all this nonsense.
No, but the point is just earning your own money doesn't automatically guarantee you empowerment. Because I have seen situations where the bai comes into the house and she works in 6, 7 houses, and then she goes home to a drunk husband who can beat her up because she hasn't warmed the food in time. Then how few are women who actually, even though money, they have a right to decide what they want to do with the money. So decision making has to be in the hands of women, whether it is about her body, whether it is about the number of children she wants to have, whether it is about how she wants to spend her money. This will come, where? From a mindset change. This is a patriarchal society that we are living in. So the pressure to keep the marriage alive under all circumstances is what makes a lot of women accept abuse in their homes. We don't have any state support for children. So if she walks out on her husband, she's not economically qualified. Her parents' doors are closed to her. So where will she go? Parents herself, if the daughter comes and complains and says, he slapped me today, they say, but you can't break up a marriage just because he slapped you once. He must be in a bad mood. You're perpetuating it. Rather than saying, no, violence will not be tolerated against my daughter. I will not accept it. And the doors of my house are open to my daughter as much as they are to my son. So that change has to come from within us. We have to, and in the process, we have to start treating our daughters-in-law the way we treat our sons, our daughters. That is important.
So there is this well-known book by Chimamanda who said we should all be feminists, I think. So I think the men have to be feminists. They have to change their mindset. I mean, why is it that
the whole notion of masculinity needs to be redefined? I've just presented a film called Me Raksam, I Dance.
I saw that.
Which has just been, it was released on Z5 yesterday. And the character of the father, who is a humble tailor, Salim, who supports his Muslim daughter's desire to become a Bharatnatyam dancer against the community and earns the wrath of the community, just very simply supports her. And in such gentle ways, he says that this is what is my daughter's desire and this is what I want to do. Now, he plays both the father and the mother. There is a small shot in the film where the girl is getting ready and she's only 15 years old. She's getting ready for her final performance and she's putting alta on her feet. And so he says, let me do it. And she says, no, don't do it. And then he asks very simply, Ke maa hoti to mana karti.
It was very moving.
These are rich instances, such rich instances of masculinity redefined, the toxicity that happens with masculinity, which is all about power and muscle and this, that, and the other, needs to be softened at the edges. We need the sharing of roles in the house. And one thing that has happened in this lockdown, I must say, that a lot of men have realized that the unsung work of the woman really takes a lot of doing. And many men have started saying that they've now started taking on household chores, etc.
Yeah. So I was going to come to that. I wanted to ask you, what was the genesis of this film? I saw the film yesterday, in fact. Very touching it was. It has a clear message on various message.
My father, Kefi Azmi, was born in a tiny village called Mijwa in Azamgarh. When he returned to it 40 years after he had left it to earn a livelihood, he realized Mijwa was a village frozen in time. It didn't have a road, it didn't have school, it didn't have electricity, it had nothing. And in spite of being incapacitated due to a brain hemorrhage, left arm and left leg was incapacitated for life, he decided to settle down in Mijwa with a focus on the girl child and make it a model village. So he was very, very devoted to the village. And one day he asked my brother Baba, will it be possible to make a film in Mijwa? Now, at that time, there was no infrastructure in Mijwa, and it wasn't possible. But in Kaifi's birth centenary year, Baba decided to pay the tribute to his father by shooting that film in Mijwa and taking as the protagonist of the film a 15-year-old girl who was born and brought up in Mijwa, called Aditi Subedi.
She was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there is also a message about communalism, what constitutes India right now, considering the situation in India. Was that also trying to, just because you're a Muslim, why cannot you learn Carnatic music or Bharatanatyam? So you're trying to redefine the whole thing, did you start that with a clear message apart from
Wahida Rahman, the story started as a father's unstinted support for his daughter, but there had to be some kind of conflict. Yeah. And this developed with Baba, but we have to see that Wahida Rahman ji said that 60 years ago, when she started learning Bharatanatyam, because she was from Rajamandri and she was from the south, and it was something that she grew up in. And when she started learning Bharatanatyam, her father had to face a lot of flack from the community saying that Musalman ladki, and how can she do Bharatanatyam? And 60 years later, we are still struggling with that. But I think that what the film celebrates is India's pluralism and her composite culture, which I really think is India's greatest strength. We have to make a difference between religion and our cultural heritage. And Bharatanatyam is part of our cultural heritage. Music is a part of our cultural heritage. I mean, look at Ali Akbar Khan, look at Allah Rakha, look at Zakir Hussain, look at Bismillah Khan. Bismillah Khan used to play the Shahnai in a temple. Now, what more example do you want of composite culture?
So, but are we forgetting this? I don't know if this is too controversial, but
there is an attempt being, I think we have to make a difference, because I think this is being deliberately fanned because of political expediencies. And also, I think the obscurantist leaders of the religion are not actually of either religion. It's not just one religion, are not able to fulfill the mandate of what the community wants. People want roti, kapda और मकान. वो तो आप उसको दे नहीं सकते. तो आप उसको धर्म के नाम पर बिल्कुल गुस्सा करवा सकते हैं. That can become the means for power. So we have to see that. But I think that India has too beautiful a cultural heritage. मुझे हैदराबाद के बारे में मेरे मामू बताते थे कि जब मुहर्रम में ताजिया निकलता था तो उनके जो नेबर्स हैं, जो पड़ोसीज हैं, they would wash the ताजिया with milk, which is what they do to the lingam. Yeah. And imagine today, can you imagine something like that? And this was the way that they would pay tribute to their Muslim neighbors. Now we have to get that back.
I hope so.
To me, it is very, very clear that the message, whether it is men or women, whether it is one community or the other, whether it is rich or different, rich or poor, has to be different but equal. That we have to put in our head. Different but equal. Equal doesn't mean same. So different but equal. Women are also different but equal. Communities must be different but equal, not same.
What's the situation in Mijwan now? I mean, is it focused on girl child? Mostly the girls?
It is focused very much on the girl child and women. And what has happened is that we've got a school, we've got an inter-college, we've got and Manishma is now, which is a very exquisite women of Mijwan. Now, what that has done, as it has transformed their lives, because we've been very particular that they must all have bank accounts, that the money goes directly into their accounts. It doesn't go to any other member of the family. And so now women in Mijwan are saying that the fact that I have my own money is transforming my life. The respect that I wasn't getting earlier, I'm getting, because some of this money I'm giving to the household, some of this money I'm giving it to my husband. Sisters are saying that we are giving it to our brothers. This whole thing has changed. Then what happens is every year we do a Mijwan fashion show by Manish Malhotra, and we bring these girls to the city. Now, in fact, Aditi Subedi, who is the protagonist of Me Raksam, was also brought for the Mijwan fashion show. And she walked along with Shah Rukh Khan and Anushka Sharma. And she went up on stage and she said, I have a dream. When I grew up, I want to be an actress. 2 years later, she's actually playing the lead. Can you imagine what it has done for the girls of Mijwan? Because suddenly new pathways and new horizons have opened up. And what I find very heartwarming is that Aditi traveled by plane for the first time. And she was also the only person in her family who had traveled by plane. So when she came back, she told everybody about what the plane was like and this, that, and the other. And what is amazing is that Mijwan's girls today want to become pilots, not air hostesses. Can you imagine what a change, transformation that's been?
So can this model be replicated elsewhere, you think?
The whole point of Mijwan Welfare Society, which was set up by my father and which now I run, is Mijwan is a model village that is both replicable and scalable. You have to find the entry point, and the entry point has to be decided by the community. You have to take the community along with you. You can't have fancy notions of, but ye unko chahiye, this is what we should give them. You have to first ask them, because most of them know what their problems are and what the solutions for that is.
So the documentary actually, which I saw, it was the mother or the grandmother resisting the girl going to school. So they don't want them to go to school.
It was not a documentary, it's a feature film. Please don't call it a documentary.
No, not this. There was something else on Mijwan I saw. There's some little video or something.
Yeah. So make a difference between that.
Yeah. So in that, it seems like it's the mothers or the grandmothers not wanting their girls to go to school. So did you have to face a lot of resistance initially? Like, why should girls
Yes,
go?
No, of course we had to pay. And my father actually had to face that resistance, because see, you have to understand what the reality of India is. Yeah. At the age of 9, a girl is already a surrogate parent to her siblings, because the mother is working from morning to night. She's also working on the field. She has absolutely no help at home. So who helps her? Her daughter helps her. So if the daughter starts going to school, then who's going to help the mother? So then they used to also question and say, "Arey, agar wo apna naam likhna seekh le, to is my cow going to give me more milk? Is my husband going to stop beating me?" That education should be of some value to her. And that's why quality education is what we have always insisted on. And that is leading to transformational change amongst the girls, where they are resisting child marriage, where they are saying that they will not get married before the age of 18, which to me is a huge thing.
What's the situation with Corona now, considering there are no classes? Are they all doing computer classes? Or
listen, it's such a small village, and yet we have been very successful because we have been teaching them on their mobile phones. And we have been, they don't have computers, so it's really been on the mobile phone. And then teachers themselves are visiting children's homes and doing that. So I'm very proud of the fact that this is something that we've been able to do. We have smart classes in our school, and we've been using that as a medium. So, but I think the wonderful work that Mijma Welfare Society has done during COVID is the amount of relief it has provided. We have reached 1,15,000 people. We have distributed grain, 1,35,000 tons of grains. Our women have been making masks.
oh, wow.
So what has happened is the community has come forward in a way where they know that they must be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I think we should do more of that, that the communities decide on what they want to do. Is there still time?
Not so much.
Quickly.
7 minutes.
How have you... Give me 5 minutes, please.
Huh?
Shabana ji, how have you coped with the pandemic and the lockdown and, all of us are getting anxious? Yeah.
The thing is that we have moved to a house in Khandala, which is a very beautiful house, Phookan, which is where we are now. And what I realized is that I have focused on the here and now in a way which I had never done before. Because instead of just cribbing and saying, "Ye kab khatam hoga, when is normal life going to happen," etc., I just decided that let this here and now be a reality. So it's an almost meditative experience. And for me, what has been most important is the fact that I have understood the difference between need and want. The two are different. And how acquisitiveness is something we need to sacrifice. I don't need the number of clothes I have, the number of handbags I have, the number of shoes I have. Because when there's nobody to show it to, you're only in your t-shirt and pajama the whole day. So that means this whole thing is just to show. And if it is just to show, then you better revisit it again. So I am simplifying my life greatly. And I'm also recognizing that we are so deeply connected, but there is such a great divide between the way the rich and the poor have been able to negotiate the coronavirus, that we must give. We must give, we must be generous, and we must give till it hurts, because we are all so deeply connected.
So we've all started doing unusual things like gardening and cooking and sewing. Is there anything you have been doing special which you had not had the time probably earlier?
See, I decided to go on a diet, and I've already lost 1 month. No, I'm focusing on the here and now.
So are you reading more? Are you hopefully writing?
I'm reading. I'm reading a lot. I've always loved reading. So I'm reading, and I'm teaching a young girl acting.
Oh, wow. That's lovely. Yeah. Apurva, I think I need to conclude. I'll ask Apurva from Hyderabad to ask you a question.
Thank you.
Shabana ji, you've always been vocal when it comes to human rights. You were raised in a family that believed that art should be used as an instrument of occur. Right from Ankur, most of your films have had a message, with the latest one being Me Raksam. What is the thought process in selecting the script and why is it so important?
Mir Raksam celebrates India's pluralism, her composite culture, and redefines masculinity, as, saving it from toxicity and making it about compassion and love. And it is a film that I think is very beautiful for me because my father's message to the world is embodied in the film, in which Kafi Sahab used to say, प्यार का जश्न नई तरह मनाना होगा, प्यार का जश्न नई तरह मनाना होगा, गम किसी दिल में सही, गम को मिटाना होगा.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I have a question here which is very interesting. Aarti Shah asks, what made you accept the role in Fire? I think she means, she didn't mention that. Way back in 1996. I mean, did you have reservations?
Yeah, but I figured that not all of India is a monolith, that people react in different ways, and that some people will be very moved, some people will be very shocked, some people will question, but at least a discussion and a dialogue will start. And that is the most important thing that art can do. It can initiate a dialogue for change to occur.
Yeah. There's one more question. How difficult, Beenal Jain.
This has to be the last question. This is the last question. I have to go now.
Okay, then. Yeah, Jahnabi ji will ask the last question.
Okay. Shabana ji, been absolutely fascinating listening to you. And I'm so, heartened to hear about the dream village that your father put across in his time and which you are taking forward in Mijwan as the model village. In our own little mission that I took up this year, we have asked for all our chapters across the country, our 17 chapters, to each adopt a village. And there is a program that we will be running, which is called the Transformational Life Skills, which are in a step module, which has a dashboard to it. And I'm very excited, and I hope this will go beyond my term because it's a one-year term and something that we can carry forward. And yours is a true inspirational story. We hope we can someday visit it ourselves and also learn from it.
Yes.
So that this is something we can show our entire team, the 8,000 women that I represent in YFLO, that yes, your father had the dream, you're carrying it forward. Whatever we start, at least it should go on to the years beyond it. And each of us would try to do a bit for the country. So that was
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And please adopt Mijwan, because you already have a success story there and then you can replicate it.
That was my next question. If you would allow it, let us take Mijwan and let us have your practical experience that you've had.
Absolutely.
Courses that we run. So we'll take it up with you on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a great pleasure.
I think closing ceremony the girls want to do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Shabana ji, one sec. We have a felicitation slide.
Thank you, Shabana ji and Ratna ji, for a very engrossing and interesting session with some insightful answers to the crackling questions. It definitely kept us engrossed and ignited in all of us a light that will keep shining. The true meaning of life is to plant trees, under whose shade you do not expect to sit. And therefore, we are felicitating our guests by planting trees in their honor. This one's for Shabana ji. We now have a felicitation slide for Jahnabi ji.
Thank you. The lovely thought.
We now have a felicitation slide for Ratna ji. I now invite Deepti Reddy, our YFLO Vice Chairperson, to give the vote of thanks.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Shabana ji. You look beautiful in that lovely yellow sari.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Jahnabi Phookan ji. It was great meeting you. Good evening, everyone. A happy Vinayaka Chavti to all of you. It was truly a very inspirational session today. And on behalf of my entire committee, I would love to thank our esteemed guest, Shabana Azmi ji, our guest of honor, National President YFLO Phookan, Moderator Ratna Rao Shekar, for embracing this event today. Your words made a true impact. Thank you. Our sincere thanks to our YFLO and FLO past chairs for making your presence so valuable today. And I would love to thank our media and IT team for this flawless experience. And last but not the least, our committee for their valuable time and boundless enthusiasm. And I would like to end this beautiful event, which was truly, truly inspirational, and in the presence of Shabana Azmi ji and Jahnabi Phookan and our moderator Ratna Rao Shekar. Thank you so much for being there and making this day so beautiful for us. And stay tuned for another power-packed event next time. Be safe and namaste.
Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.